That's right. You're listening to another episode of the Co-Main Event Mixed Martial Arts Podcast. I'm Chad Dundas. That's Ben Folks. We're both longtime MMA journalists, and for the last 14 years, we've been meeting here every week to break down all the action in the wild, weird, and occasionally wonderful world of mixed martial arts. And Ben, this weekend, we are headed over to Philadelphia. Xfinity Mobile Arena, granddaddy of them all. Islam Makhachev putting the welterweight championship on the line against Ian Garry, and the women's strawweight title on the line. Mackenzie Durn against Jillian Robertson. I can't help but notice on the UFC 330 poster, it says real big at the top, 2 title fights, because that is actually kind of markedly different from what
Rare.
we've seen in a couple, save for the real big tentpole events. That's actually, as you said, somewhat rare here.
Rare as hell these days. And so we're just being like, hey, we're putting some gold back on these posters, you guys. Get hyped.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We talked earlier in the year about where all the champions at when we were heading into the White House show and people were making grandiose, bottomless claims about how many title fights were going to be on that card. And by people, I mean the president of the United States. Now we're starting to see at least some title fights trickle out here. Islam Makhachev against Ian Garry and Mackenzie Durn against Jillian Robertson. I still feel like maybe at my advanced age, I'm still getting used to the rhythms of the modern sport. But I still feel like we used to have more lead up to these things. We used to be able to make a bigger deal out of them. And every time it occurs to me that I feel like, we've had a very quiet, essentially, lead up to a UFC title fight. Obviously, it's Monday of fight week, so things will start happening now. But every time I start to feel this way, I always ask myself, remember when they had that world tour for Conor McGregor and Jose Aldo? Remember when they did that? We got nothing. And obviously, admittedly, that's kind of a special fight, but we got nothing like that now. We're rolling into Islam Makhachev and Ian Garry and Durn versus Jillian Robertson we got almost nothing leading up to this week.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but when they did the world tour in the lead up to Conor McGregor, Jose Aldo, that was the one where Jose Aldo hurt his ribs and pulled out and Chad Mendes had to step in, right?
Are you trying to say maybe we learned some lessons?
So maybe they're like, this shit ain't worth it, man. You don't know until fight week what you're actually going to have to offer these people. Plus, there ain't no more pay-per-views to sell. So who needs the hassle, man?
Yeah.
Especially, Dana White's got a bunch of other stuff to do. He's over there doing the Zuffa boxing. He's got some power slapping. He needs to be on 8 to 11 podcasts per week, apparently, just based on what I see pop up in the social media feed. So we can't be taking these fighters, getting them on and off planes, going to multiple cities just to, hype them up, or as some would say, promote them. Who's got the time, Chad?
Yeah, that's a great question. Although we did hear once again when we signed this Paramount deal about all of the great opportunities that were going to be coming the fighters' way in terms of exposure and and star making potential, just as they have said every time we have signed a new UFC broadcast deal. They have promised us that it will blow our minds. The promotional opportunities that will come the way of the MMA fighters. They said it when we signed with Fox. They said it when we signed with ESPN. They said it when we signed with Paramount.
They also said it during the sale and that one should have made sense because they're like, hey, look, we're being bought by one of the world's biggest talent agencies, essentially. Like, if Stephen Colbert is their client, if Jimmy Kimmel is their client, can't they just get our fighter on Jimmy Kimmel? And you'd think, yeah, no, that made sense. Didn't happen a ton, really. The thing I've been thinking, Chad, is when we watched a couple episodes of Landman, over there when we were trying to figure out what's on Paramount Plus, and the Landman's son was doing jujitsu on people in like episode 2. Remember that? He took a guy down, took his back, put him in the old RNC. I saw that and I was like, well, surely there are some minor roles here available on this show for some UFC fighters. To say nothing of the opportunities over on Tulsa King. Where are we at on these things, man?
I mean, in fairness, we have not watched very much Landman and or Tulsa King in the grand scheme of things. For all I know, some of these guys are Ian Garry could have a recurring role on Tulsa King
You
for
know,
all I know.
I don't know if Ian Garry was the guy I had in mind.
No, he could be like he's
Nate
the Irish
Landwehr.
tough guy. He's the
Nate
Irish tough guy
Landwehr
that they bring over.
is going to show up on Tulsa King, beat up a dispensary owner or something, and then be forced to chuckle along as Sly Stallone talks about women these days. Like that's
I
the kind of
mean,
thing I could imagine happening.
no one loves Nate the Train Landwehr more than I do, and yet I feel like that would be a really weird guy to give the recurring role on Landman, just in terms of promotional utility, I guess you could say. Remember The Sopranos when they brought the Italian hitman over, Furio? He's
Yeah,
started working for the
of
American mob.
course.
Could be the same thing with Ian Garry, right? Importing this tough guy from Ireland. They don't get any tougher than this guy, they could say.
I mean, I think people would look at him and be like, they have to get tougher than that. They don't know. That's the thing about Ian Garry. It's kind of disarming. Like he doesn't. You look at him and you're not. It's not a guy who makes you quake in your boots when he gets off the bus.
Mm-hmm.
But then he's going to go out there and throw down with a very strategic, careful game plan. Sean Strickland. How is Sean Strickland not on Tulsa King?
I mean, I believe Sean Strickland has he's exceeded even the UFC's patience, right? Like maybe there was a time when we would have put Sean Strickland on any number of Paramount Plus properties, but when he's getting arrested in DC with his shirt off, no shoes, right? Getting
I think
perp walked.
they were escorting him out, Chad, because
Yeah.
he was too popular. I don't think he actually got arrested on that one, did he? But I'm
There's a
just saying, we couldn't have him get off a motorcycle and get punched in the throat by Sylvester Stallone.
look, there's a difference between popularity and a perp walk. Okay.
It's a
And
fine line. It's sometimes a blurry line.
I think what Sean Strickland got was the latter. Uh, we could have had a real sweet segue there when we were talking about Ian Garry being on Tulsa King, being the tough guy
Come
they
on.
imported from Ireland.
Come on.
We could have had a nice one. We could have.
What's the
We
show
could have.
that's the English mob family one that we watched that was actually pretty good? And
Oh
Tom
man,
Hardy is in it.
I don't remember.
That's the one for Ian Garry.
Yeah,
That's the one
no,
you put him in.
that's good. That's a good point. That's a good point. Uh, I think our overarching point that we just haven't seen that is
Yes.
is still
Yes.
true. That's where we started this conversation.
Yeah.
All right,
It's a
UFC.
dilly dally brand, Chad. Come on,
I
you
know.
know that.
We're dilly dallying the shit out of the start of this one. Ian Garry is going off at plus 270 headed into this title fight against Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev at minus 340. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I expected it to be a little bit more lopsided than
Yeah, I
that
did too,
before I
honestly.
looked. But at the same time, obviously on paper, this matchup of styles should favor the champion, Islam Makhachev. But this will be his second UFC welterweight title defense, his second fight in the UFC at 170 pounds, right? Ian Garry, bit of a long, rangy guy, decent movement, as you said. Perhaps what he lacks in thrilling guttural action, he makes up for in tactical smarts. So it's a decent chance he goes out there with at least a good game plan, at least an idea of what to implement. Do you think there is a chance that when this thing is over, we're sitting here being like, well, I mean, in retrospect, it seems obvious that
Yeah.
Islam Makhachev was going to struggle with this if Ian Garry could stop him from taking him down at least a couple of times. Are we going to be thinking that?
Well, we also had to do some in retrospect ass talk after Islam Makhachev and Jack Della Maddalena. Remember
That
that?
is true.
Because
Yeah,
we
that
were
is
out
true.
here being like, I don't know, man, up a weight class, going to be dealing with a bigger guy. Maybe JDM's wrestling defense is better than people give it credit for. Like, I think people are thinking this is just a walk for Islam and he might struggle a little bit here. And then he just went out there and wore him around like a button.
Yeah,
And
warm
then
around
we
like a
went,
hat.
well, okay, I guess I guess it wasn't such a difficult one after all. I think Ian Garry has a couple things that you could talk yourself into believing he has on his side here. One of them is a still speculative, but at least based in some kind of fact. I'm going to say that in advance, and I'm also going to say in advance that the other one is pure vibes. It is
Okay.
nonsense. It is not the kind of shit we should take seriously into account, but it is the kind of shit we will take into account because I know how this sport works. The first one, Chad. Ian Garry, big guy for the division,
Mhm.
and a guy who in a lot of his previous fights has done a really good job of managing distance, which is one of the things you probably have to do against Islam Makhachev. Because if you just let him decide when he wants to stay on the outside and when he wants to get all up in your grill, then you got no chance against that guy. He's just going to be roughnecking you around all night long, doing whatever he wants. It's not even a question so much of like, can you stop the takedown? It's just like, can you keep him where you want him long enough to do any of your stuff? Ian Garry seems like he has frustrated people in the past with his ability to do that, even when they know that's one of the things you got to deal with this guy. He's hard to find in there sometimes. He's hard to track down. And then you see people following him around the cage and doing dumb stuff in an effort to close that distance and in an effort to make him stand still and have the fight that they want. So he got some of that we haven't seen Islam deal with that much. That's the closest thing to like a practical way of talking myself into thinking Ian Garry has a chance here. You want to hear the vibes one?
Yeah, no, that's what I come here for. We've been doing this show for 14 years. I operate on vibes,
Yeah.
deja vus.
Go. You pay attention to your deja vus and coincidences. We all know
Yeah.
that. The vibes based reason is, ain't that just some shit that would happen right
Yeah.
now in
Yeah.
MMA? We're
Yeah.
watching everywhere we look. These guys who we're thinking are the pound for pound greats, they keep getting ticked off the list. We just saw Ilya Topuria get beat by Justin Gaethje. There was another one where we were thinking, man, Justin would be lucky to last through the first round against this guy. Also, wouldn't it just piss off a bunch of the MAGA types in the MMA fan base, which are depressingly a not insignificant portion of the MMA fan base, if Ian Garry went out there, became the new champ, knocked off the guy who we're now looking at as the pound for pound best, and then started talking about how women on the run the world, and he cries at long distance phone commercials or whatever. I mean,
He's gonna hop in his Prius and drive on off.
he's gonna hop in his Prius. He's gonna drive down to the corner store to get his wife some flowers and sing her some slow jams. He's gonna be out here talking about toxic masculinity, and they are gonna be seething with rage.
You know, it was a couple of weeks ago that you started to float this idea that Ian Garry is working a wrestling gimmick on us. That Ian Garry is out here trying to be a heel in the world of MMA by being the woke fighter.
He's the progressive Democrat.
And at the time, I was like, I don't know, man. Like, that seems like it would ask for a lot of play acting and also a lot of self-awareness from a guy like Ian Garry. Then he went out and made the PETA ad about being meat-free or whatever.
Plant-based, Chad.
And that's when I started to be like, I don't know, maybe he is doing this shit on purpose. He's certainly not shying away from it.
No,
Let's
he's
say
not.
that.
He's not. And I did see, I think, a quote from one of the embeddeds, like the first embedded that came out, where Islam Makhachev was saying that he thinks he'll win because his opponent do too much interviews, and it's just out here talking about himself too much. Yeah, I don't know. I can't tell if that is like what the level of awareness Ian Garry has around that might be, because he has to know to some extent, you know. And I also have seen though those videos of him where he's just like, I wake up every day super excited because I'm one day closer to being the world champion, all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I do believe that he believes. And I think that's a big thing, especially to go in there against a guy like Islam Makhachev. I think that it's everybody going to act like they believe. But we've seen a lot of people who are bullshitting. And I think that he genuinely does believe. But it's also we've done this before where we go the best reason to think that something like this would happen is because it seems like the kind of dumb shit that happens in MMA sometimes. And that's not a good like if you're
That's
trying to
not a good
actually
reason.
yeah, if you're trying to actually like make picks, you're like the MMA universe doesn't actually work that way.
Are we sure?
No,
You sure
I'm
about that?
not. I'm not sure. I'm not sure of anything anymore, to tell you the truth. But it doesn't it's not like this guy is more likely to lose because of other people in completely different fights and situations who have lost. Those things have no bearing on him. Absolutely not. And yet it
It's a,
just does seem like I can more easily see it now than I could 6 months ago.
it sounds like what you're saying is that you feel like Ian Garry has a chance because ain't that just the way?
Yeah, ain't that just the way?
You're also saying, it sounds to me like what you're saying is for Islam Makhachev, vibes is off.
I see that's the thing is I don't know if they are. I think that his vibes are pretty consistent, honestly. The only way to say vibes is off is based on what has happened to other similar fighters in his situation. You know, we saw
Yeah.
Alex Pereira go up in weight. We were looking at Alex Pereira like, he's the badass going to conquer a new division. That didn't happen. Ilya Taporia, and again, those situations don't affect his at all. Let me though run this down to you because you mentioned the odds right now, and right now I'm looking at like the closing, and these have not closed yet because fight night is still yet to come, so that they might move a little bit. But if we're just looking at where the closing odds are now, I'm looking at best fight odds where they'll show you the opening and the closing. And if you take the odds as an indication of how likely odds makers think Islam is to win this fight, here they see his prospects of victory as more likely against Ian Machado Garry than they were against Jack Della Maddalena.
Wow.
He
Okay.
was a minus 282 favorite there when it closed, and as a minus 333 favorite as of right now. They see them as like his victory is more likely here than it was against Dustin Poirier, where he was minus 400. Slightly more likely here than it was against Arman Sarukian. Renato Moicano, who filled in for Arman Sarukian there, that one he closed at minus 835. That's one where the odds makers might have felt like they fucked it up at first because they opened at minus 600 and people went, yeah, no, I'll take that. And then they went, oh shit. Looks like at one point they adjusted it all the way up to like a minus 1200 until the bets stopped coming, and then the shit started to come back down. But like when he fought Alexander Volkanovski, and I don't know which time this is. I think this is the second time they fought, I believe. He'd already beat him once. Volkanovski was coming in, taking that one on short notice, up a weight class, and there. The first time they fought, he was a minus 335 favorite, so just about where he is against Ian Garry. And then the second time, somehow closed as a minus 230 favorite, which in retrospect, that was real easy money, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So it just seems like we're looking at him and we're kind of going like, okay, he should win these fights stylistically, strength versus strength. He absolutely should win these fights. I think right now I'm ready to look like an absolute fool on this because it's easy once the fights has happened and we know how they went. I think Ian Garry has a better chance than Jack Della Maddalena did.
Well, retrospect is 2020, right? Hindsight.
Exactly. Very easy to say once
Mm-hmm.
we know. But I also think that like Ian Garry presents a little something different and a different body type to kind of try to deal with for Islam. Am I crazy for thinking that?
No, I brought it up. I was the one who brought it up, and like, just trying to throw out a scenario. by which we might get ourselves into an interesting fight, or by which Ian Garry walks out of this thing with the belt. I do see, Ben, I know you love the sucker bets at the top of DraftKings, where they give you some highlighted bets that you could make that definitely aren't going to win.
I do need them to come up with a good name, though, because the sucker bets where they don't come up with a good name, where they really mail it in on the name for the bet, it's not appealing to me.
There is one up here at the top of the page that is called And New.
God, see, that's lazy.
If you parlay Gary and Jillian Robertson, you can get plus 991 odds.
Okay. You know why you can get that?
Is it because odds makers think Vibes is on?
It's because they don't think that's going to happen. I prefer when they give you the really long odds parlay and they called it the why not parlay. And it's just like the people who are taking your money for sports gambling want you to adopt a little bit more of a why not attitude when you get on there. The other part of me says, when I'm trying to imagine a path to victory for Ian Garry, I can kind of see it, and I also think it sucks. I also think the most likely way for me to picture Ian Garry winning this fight is a shitty fight. A shitty fight where not a whole lot happens and Islam gets frustrated, and it's not exactly a ton of action.
Yeah. All right, well, we've talked about what happens if the Vibes is off for Islam Makhachev. What if the Vibes is on? What happens then? We'll talk about that later in the show. For now, remember, you're listening to the Co-Main Event podcast proper. Brand new episodes of this show drop for free in your podcast feed every Monday afternoon. So make sure you're subscribed to the show, and you won't have to come looking for us. We'll come looking for you. Another way to make sure you don't miss an episode is to head over to our website, co-mainevent.com, and sign up for our newsletter. That way, we'll email you whenever a new episode comes out. We won't fill your inbox with junk mail, but, maybe at some point you'll get the occasional special offer or news update, something like that. As a reminder, we're still a completely independent operation. We don't have corporate overlords. There's no fat cats over here. The discourse, as always, remains unfettered. And if you're into that sort of thing, do us a favor. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us one of those sweet 5-star reviews. And if video is more your speed, come find us over on YouTube at Co-Main Event Podcast. If you really want to level up your support, at this point, you know what to do. Come join us over on Patreon, patreon.com/co-main event. That's where the serious shit goes down. We are over there dropping bonus episodes almost every day of the week. There's the live chat driven entirely by your questions. There's the Power Hour, where we do a deep dive on MMA for the true shit-eating wild people out there every Friday. And of course, Doing the Damn Thing, where we talk about all the stuff outside of MMA you think, or we think you might be interested in. And, plus we got watch parties. We got the CME Movie Club, which is just kicking off again. And the Discord message board, where they're talking about fights and other stuff 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We think you'll like it. Come hang out. We think it's the best deal in all of MMA. That is patreon.com/co-main event. Don't forget about the merchandise shop over at co-mainevent.com. We got all kinds of stuff over there designed in partnership with our guy, Johnny Ashcroft from Portland, Oregon. He's an outstanding graphic designer. If you need design work done, check him out at studiosuperconductor.com or on Instagram at studiosuperconductor. All right. Like we always do about this time, let's do a little bit of listener mail. First piece of listener mail this week comes to us from Aljamain Copper. He writes, see, I still can't say this guy's name, even though I hear people say it all the time. Is it Killian?
You asking me about people's names?
Quillian Salkield. That he writes, that boy good. Now, this might clue people into the fact that I didn't watch this UFC Fight Night live. I just checked in with the replay while I was house sitting a new puppy, and so I had the volume turned down. But I did see this one go down, and I do at this point have to co-sign that boy good
Yep.
because Saul Killed came into this thing as like not an insignificant underdog. We were looking at wasn't he? We were looking at the odds earlier on Friday. Is
Was
that
it?
right? Or
I don't know.
did I just lie to myself? Anyway, regardless of which, he makes short work of Mateusz Gamrot out there.
Yeah, and looked just like he in total control of the whole thing. He opened as a slight underdog,
Yeah.
plus 111, closed at minus 150, so closed
Okay.
as
So
the
the money
favorite.
came in. The
Yeah.
money came in then.
And I could see what people are thinking where you're like, okay, Mateusz Gamrot is the kind of guy who has shown in the past an ability to make good fighters look bad at
Hmm.
times. And stylistically, has some things that maybe they think could give him problems. But no, he was in total control of this thing, made it look easy, made it look like he was just having a good time out there. And so yeah, that was a real that boy good kind of moment. I was interested because I read Chuck Mindenhall's feature on him beforehand. Chuck talked to him, kind of being like, "What are you doing main eventing at the Apex, bro?" It was that kind of a conversation, and him being like, trying to make the case. You can never tell when fighters are like talking themselves into it, or if they feel like they need to put a positive spin on it to stay in good grace with the company. But he was just like, I think it's kind of better main event at the Apex, got it all to myself, rather than being like an undercard of a numbered event where, yeah, you could have a good performance, but then there's 3, 4 more fights, a title fight main event. And by that time, maybe they kind of forgot you. This way, I end the night, even if it is an Apex card. I will say, they did. Do you see the new Apex layout?
Say that again.
How we got more people in the Apex now. They changed up the way that they do the arrangement for inside the meta Apex, and there were moments there where I was just like, it almost sounds like there's a crowd there.
Yeah, well, this is part of the they redid it, right? Remember
Yeah.
when they said they were going to go into the Apex
Mhm.
and do some modifications, some improvements? It seemed like it worked.
And so I mean, I know it's like a small thing. It's still card quality is going to be an issue because it does seem like they have that tiered approach to uh, everybody can look at it and be like, are you a fight night on the road or are you fight night at the Apex? That's you kind of telling us how big an event you think this one could be. But you see him come out of this one and getting like the loud reaction from our fans. You're like, okay, this one felt more like an actual event. If you're just sitting at home watching this shit on Paramount, and you do have that moment all to yourself, then like he kind of seemed like maybe he's on to something because you come out of that weekend, there wasn't shit else to talk about. And so people were talking about like, damn, you look good. You look like a coming man of the division.
Do you think that they had to go back in? Do you think they had to go back in and put those seats in the Apex because of when WWE went in there and they put people in there and all of a sudden we were all like, wait a
Yeah.
second. We didn't
We
know you could have fans at the Apex.
Well, I'm surprised, like, because after that, then they went right back for the UFC, just doing it the same old way. And so we were like, okay, so you made a choice.
Yeah.
You could do this other thing. You're just choosing not to. And so now, yeah, it does make a difference, honestly. Because I was watching, like some of the clips from this. I also did not watch it live because I'm not going to sit through all the filler that they have on these fight night cards. But I'm checking in as I'm seeing like fights go down. I watched Miles Johns had a good comeback win there. It looked like he was about to get finished. And you watching that one, you hear the crowd pop, and you're like, oh wow, this actually sounds like a real event. How about that?
Quillen Saul killed is what the internet tells me.
Okay.
Quillen Saul killed. If I gave you 100 guesses, you would never guess his middle name.
Yamish.
Ah, man, that's closer than I might have thought. Zane.
Zane, huh?
Yep. Quillen Zane. Saul
Huh.
killed.
Okay.
QZ.
Okay.
Matt Webb writes in to say, pour one out for the damaged Darren Elkins. We shall remember you fondly. They didn't have to do this. This is one where I was looking on Twitter and then I refreshed my feed and it was nothing but people being like, we didn't need to do this. They shouldn't have done this to Darren. Just like that was the response. Is that this was not one we needed to see.
But Chad, this is how they do.
That is true.
This is just how they do, Chad. I mean, we know this. We've known this for a long time. They take the old, they feed them to the young. That's how it goes. And this one particularly rough, you know?
At the same time, if you're Darren Elkins, weren't you always going to go out like this, though? You know, like if we're being honest with ourselves, weren't you going to keep going until this happened?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, we talked about him having a little bit more self-awareness
Mm-hmm.
about his career, where he's at, and also talking about how he was basically not allowed to do BKFC because he would die. So like he came in there, it seemed like knowing here's how the shit goes, here's how my career has shaped up, and like realizing, let me go ahead and be the guy to say this is going to be it, rather than them just cutting me after a loss and not getting an opportunity to kind of like say goodbye when the cameras are on. So like that was a little bit of some awareness there. And
Still,
still, it's not how you saw it going down, probably.
just everyone else. Next question this week comes to us from Darkwing Duck, who writes in to say, dudes, I just read on MMA Fighting that, quote, an unnamed bidder has purchased a fan experience with UFC stars Alex Pereira and Charles Oliveira for $60,500 at the annual Instituto Projeto Neymar auction on Monday night in Sao Paulo, Brazil. This guy might have no idea how boring most MMA fighters actually are, and or read the recent allegations of violence against Poatan. I guess maybe Charles could take him harness racing? Anyway, is there anyone in the world, MMA fighter or not, that you would pay this kind of money to hang out with? Discourse. I know the answer to this question, and it is no.
I mean, paying money to hang out with someone in general seems like a strange thing. I can't really imagine doing that. And I say that not just about MMA fighters, but like anybody. I can't imagine sitting around and wanting to be like, yeah, you know what would be a really good hang is if I pay money and they are forced to. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I can't see us having a great time that way. Like, what are we going to talk about? What what are we going to do? You know? Like I don't know.
What
I
if you
can't
guys
see
hit
it.
it off? What if you hit it off, you become best
See,
friends, and then it's sort of like a meet cute?
you are out here on some what if the stripper does like me though kind of shit. That's what you're
Uh,
doing right now. I just
well, it
I
wouldn't
just I need you to realize that. That's all.
wouldn't be the first time we'd heard MMA fighters compared to strippers, right?
That's true.
Next question this week comes to us from Lil Bunny Fufu,
Okay.
who writes, I know, writes in to say, full disclosure, I just started following MVP on X after they bought PFL, but this weekend I couldn't help but notice that MVP and Zuffa Boxing were both running what looked to me like fairly small time boxing events head to head against each other. It probably wasn't planned that way, but I realized we're actually dealing with a multi sport rivalry here. What's next? Dana and Jake buy NFL teams to compete against each other? Jake starts a wrestling league? I know Ben has snooker in his blood,
Mhm.
so maybe Dana and Jake can square off across the table from each other.
You know, the thing that people need to understand about the snooker world, it's if you don't know what we're doing over there in snooker, you better stay the fuck out of snooker. It's just it's not for you. It's for us, the real heads in the
Mhm.
snooker world.
Okay. Who are you talking about? You're talking about yourself
Yeah,
now?
yeah,
Okay.
people like
True
me.
snookerhead.
Mhm.
Do you think that there is a possibility that we get into like a big time arms race between these two companies and not one but two sports? Because, I admit Zuffa Boxing, they haven't done much so far.
They not out the garage yet, as Eddie Hearn says.
Every time I turn around, it seems like they're doing one of these small time events somewhere that I can watch on my television on Paramount Plus if I so desire, and I don't. MVP at least seems to have a little bit of a higher profile, just owing to some of the stuff they've done on Netflix and elsewhere. But like, it would be kind of cool. I feel like it would be kind of cool if you had the MVP and the UFC kind of competing against each other in boxing and MMA. I don't know. That's actually something we haven't really seen before.
Whose interest would that serve more, do you think? As an arms race kind of thing.
I feel like it's hard to say. I'm not totally sure. I feel like it would give MVP some great shit talking potential possibility.
I feel like if we're going to get into a contest to see who has the deeper war chest, you don't really want to go up against TKO.
That's true, but how much are they really going to spend on Dana White's passion project boxing? I guess once they get the federal law changed,
yeah, they have
then
they have gone to the
it.
trouble of rewriting the law. So that seems like they plan to stick around in a little while. Yet at the same time, they have said a lot of stuff privately to the shareholders. I guess not privately, but like not as publicly to the shareholders by being like, hey, don't worry, we're not spending our money on this. We're spending Saudi Arabia's money on this. I don't know. I mean, it would be interesting for us fans, like, especially like you've seen the way Dana White and Eddie Hearn have found these creative different ways to tweak each other's noses. So you can imagine somebody like Jake Paul would get a little more creative with it. That would be interesting for us as fans. I don't know if it would serve the long-term interests of MVP that well, though.
That could be true. All right, we got a very long one from our guy Cursed Diamonds on Patreon. We were talking last week about Dana White suddenly deciding that he is in the business of, quote, holy shit moments, instead of saying that he is in the business of booking cool fights. Cursed Diamonds writes, in my opinion, that is an imported strategy from the WWE and its, quote, WWE moments of the last decade, not just a handy cover for not knowing who the fuck is on the card. Of course, he means Serbia, the card in Serbia, where Dana White couldn't name a single fight on the card. In the WWE, it's a promise that if you go to big events like a pay-per-view, but especially WrestleMania or SummerSlam or the Royal Rumble, regardless of the match or storyline quality, and occasionally directly in spite of it, you are going to see one of the big wrestlers do something awesome. An RKO out of nowhere after Randy was gone for months. A huge heel turn. Throwing around I show speed like a rag doll. Jelly Roll doing weight loss stuff. Not sure. Anyway, in the WWE, moments are about the important people doing memorable things. The wrestlers themselves seem to have bought into this philosophy, at least they speak like it, and a lot of their fans have too. It's what allows the live ticket prices to climb astronomically while reducing the matches on a card by half and cutting the times of the remaining matches so Roman Reigns can do a 20-minute entrance. Was at Raw before WrestleMania this year. 4 matches, none over 9 minutes, almost 3 hours, never again. 4 matches on Raw? Come
Got to
on.
take his word for it. I don't know.
Deliver a moment so you can also deliver 45 minutes of ads during the show. No need for an undercard. Just pay the top guys a bunch and fuck everyone else, because moments aren't to be delivered by mid-carders who can put a price on a memory. WWE can, and it's a big number. In the UFC, the purpose is reversed almost. The lower card and the mid card are just as likely to produce holy shit moments as the top of the card, maybe way more so because of the volume of the matches on the card. WWE needs the cream to produce moments, but the UFC just needs bodies. Have enough fights and you're going to get KOs and barn burners because everyone's good now. If the guys on the Contender Series can produce fight of the year shit, who the fuck needs expensive talent except in the main event of a huge show? The fighters themselves aren't important anymore for most shows. They sell out before anyone's announced, or at least they did until recent times. Go to Texas, throw Derek Lewis on top with some young, dumb Brazilian monster, fill the card with scrappy hitters, charge a mint, and talk about the highlight reel KOs afterwards. Don't even need to promote anymore. By selling moments and memories and holy shit, you are selling the brand and the event and the company. In the WWE, it concentrates importance in the very top guys, and in the UFC, it concentrates importance on the field, so to speak. Why pay someone thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars to do what Melquizael Costa does at a fraction of the price? The holy shit moment is the same. To sum up, selling holy shit moments is just another tool in the UFC's arsenal to concentrate attention on the brand and the events and not any individual fighter. It doesn't matter if Dana even knows who's on the card anymore, because the promotional machine has made that completely unnecessary. I mean, hard to argue with that.
Yeah, and I heard other people make this point, especially I wrote a column about Dana White's fixation on the moments thing, especially because I just think that misunderstands the appeal of combat sports. Remember how we would sometimes talk about how when you follow the Grabaka Hitman on Twitter, you realize somewhere on planet Earth at basically all times, somebody is putting on a pair of 4-ounce gloves and getting in a cage and fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And how sometimes you'll see like these things posted where it's like crazy knockout in RLX, over there in the lost city of Atlantis. And I'm just like, I understand what you're about to show me. And it's going to be like somebody getting knocked out super bad, falling on their face, whatever. And I kind of don't want to see it because it's meaningless violence to me at that point. If I don't know the two fighters, if I don't have any reason to care about them, what they're fighting for, where they are in their careers, what this fight is about, what are the stakes of it are, it's kind of just like you telling me like, a crazy play from like a high school football game where somebody gets rocked. And I'm like, I don't have a reason to I don't have any context for this. And if you're just throwing together fights between people we never heard of, being like, we'll get a moment, we'll get some kind of like clip out of one of these just by playing the odds. I don't know, man. Like, I don't think that's what creates and sustains an audience. I think that's just what creates clips. But as the power slap thing has shown, you can sneak some clips in some people's algorithm. You can count them as a viewer. You can say that they watched the thing, but that doesn't mean that everybody who watches a power slap is going looking for where can I watch this thing and sit through an entire broadcast and sign up for a subscription to whatever streaming service is on. Like, there's a huge gap between those things. And so I just feel like you are not understanding what the real appeal of this sport is for the core of your fan base. If you're thinking, hey, we just need to create knockouts and crazy moments, and people pointed that out to me. They're like, that seems like Dana, maybe from the TKO ownership coming on down, or maybe him just looking over at what they're doing in WWE. Like, you're using even like the same language to talk about this stuff. And I don't see that is the thing that creates like a sustained audience for you.
Yeah, it is, as Curse Diamonds points out here, hard to ignore the deja vus and the coincidences of kind of using the same language in WWE now and having Dana White sort of pick that up as a theme. It is sort of hard to ignore the synergies.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could say. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. It's he had said that before, but it certainly not as frequently as he said it in the last couple of weeks. And it's very rare that you hear Dana White add a new description to his promoter playbook.
Mm-hmm.
So that is interesting in and of itself. So we'll see if he keeps saying that kind of stuff.
Also noted that when one of the times when he was talking about the holy shit moments thing was also when he was saying the power slap is going to be bigger than the UFC.
It's because it's just 1, 2, 3 slap. Everybody understands that.
He was specifically saying sometimes you watch an entire UFC event and you don't get any holy shit moments, which you just said that's your whole business, is creating the holy shit moments. But that power slap is nothing but holy shit moments. And yet, regardless of what you want to tell us about the social media numbers, it is not a big sport. Nobody gives a fuck about it, bro. And so if you're saying a holy shit moments equals big sport, why hasn't it worked that way for power slap? You can say people are watching it because we found a way to sneak it into their algorithms on TikTok and Instagram or whatever, but it is not a big sport. Name me 3 power slappers. You can't do it.
Hawaiian.
Dana White can't do it.
Yeah. And like I said, if I were a guy on that TKO earnings call and the guy who was the CEO of the company that I had invested in went on a podcast and said his other venture would be bigger than the UFC, I would be asking Mark Shapiro about it. I would be saying, why would you say that?
Mm-hmm. Why would you
All right,
say that?
that's going to do it for listener mail this week. If you have a question, comment, or concern that you want to air to the podcast in future weeks, you know how to do it. Go to the website, comainevent.com, click the link at the top of the page that says email the podcast. That'll get you in touch with us. As I said before, what will happen if the vibes is on for Islam Makhachev? We'll talk about that right after this. All right, Ben, let's say Islam Makhachev goes out there, has a cakewalk against Ian Garry, like the odds makers seem to think that he will. Then what happens? Because we've had this situation now where Islam Makhachev moved up to welterweight from lightweight, accomplished his goal, I suppose, in winning the 170-pound title. But then you look around at the welterweight division, you think, all right, you beat Ian Garry, you beat Jack Della Maddalena. Who else is up there? Carlos Prates, Michael Morales, Sean Brady, Gabriel Bonfim, Bilal Muhammad, Leon Edwards, Joaquin Buckley, Uros Medic. That's your top 10. That's your top 10 at welterweight right now. If you're Islam Makhachev and you clean up Ian Garry, do you stick around to attempt to craft the same kind of divisional dominance that you had at lightweight, or do you start looking around for different challenges, I guess?
Different challenges such as going up and dumping Sean Strickland on his head.
I mean, going up to 185 would really be something. I just didn't know if we'd be out here chasing super fights at various weights, or if we were going to stay the course, kind of do the thing Habib did, and stay in our weight class and just beat everybody and make yourself a legacy out of that.
Well, I mean, he already decided not to stay in his weight class by going up to welterweight there, right? So, I mean, I guess it depends. You hear Ali Abdelaziz out there trying to pitch that Justin Gaethje, Islam Makhachev super fight idea. I don't know if there's a ton of appetite for that right now. It does seem though, like, especially in this era where there are no more pay-per-views, there are no more points on the pay-per-view, I do think you get into a question of what are everybody's motivations. Like, what should what should his goal be? Like, just so that we'll talk about him as a GOAT, so that he can feel like he got one up on Habib, maybe? Because those guys gave him shit for losing a fight at any point in his career.
Yeah. Habib was disappointed. He was like, frankly, we thought he'd be the champion by now. Remember when he said that? He said that out loud in public.
So maybe it's like, hey, if I stick around long enough, defend the title long enough, then I can say, like, I did that, and people talk about me as a great one ahead of Habib. Like, there might be some of that. But it's also not like you have a special incentive to chase something that's especially a super fight if they're going to pay you the same, whether you fight, Carlos Prates or whether you keep pushing yourself up in weight.
Yeah. I guess that's a solid point. I mean, if I had to guess, I would say Islam Makhachev continues to put on workman-like fights against whoever is around. Kind of seems like the kind of guy that he would be, and I suppose a Justin Gaethje fight would be a big one, and a big one that he almost certainly wins. And it's too bad that maybe that Ilya Topuria super fight went up in smoke, or at least I guess might take a couple of rehabilitative victories by Topuria to make that interesting again. So we'll see. What about Mackenzie Durn and Jillian Robertson Mackenzie Durn, she's going to go out there and again try to make the first defense of a title. She won the vacant women's strawweight championship over Verna Jandiroba back at UFC 321 in October of last year. Now she goes in to fight Jillian Robertson. Durn is the favorite here. She's minus 238. Jillian Robertson is plus 195. Am I just out of touch and out of date here, thinking that I feel like Mackenzie Durn could still lose just any old fight?
Yeah, no, I've had that feeling for a while just because we have seen her do the thing where she looks really good one fight and then looks like she took a step backwards the next fight. And it also seems like she's still in that zone where we're going, okay, you're the champion while Wiley Zhang stepped away from the division. Like nobody's really, I think, completely buying it yet. We're like, hey, good, nice for her. She got a good moment with the belt, but also nobody's really looking at Mackenzie Durn right now, I don't think, and saying that's the best strawweight on the planet. So it does seem like she could show up at any point and just not have it together that night, and it wouldn't be a shock, you know?
Well, then that would be too bad for the Zuckerberg household. You know, they would have to go into mourning in the West Wing.
I think they'd rebound.
You think?
Yeah.
You think they would? You think they would be okay? Drying their tears on $1,000 bills or whatever.
I think they'd find a way to press on.
Did you see that they're making a second Facebook movie?
When you say they,
the movie industry,
okay, the film industry,
Hollywood,
they're like, we don't feel like we made that guy look like an asshole, like an appropriate level asshole with the first one. We need to kick it up a notch. Don't tell me it's a redemption arc in the second one. I won't be hearing it.
I think it's the opposite of that.
I gotta say, you know, now that you point out to me that Mackenzie Durn about a 2-1 favorite in here, I'm looking over there at Jillian Robertson as a plus 200 underdog, and I feel like it could be talked into it. You know what I'm saying?
You've started to feel a little froggy.
I don't know. I mean, I just feel like Mackenzie Durn has had these moments where you go, all right.
Moments, you say?
I didn't say they were holy shit moments. I said that she's had some moments where she's looked pretty good. We know she's got some good jiu-jitsu, whether or not she always wants to use it. But also, you know, you've had some moments where you go out there and you look at her and be like, I don't see it. You know, like you don't see, like, here looks like somebody who is head and shoulders above the rest of the division. And maybe that's what's really still at stake for her in fights like these, is because it kind of feels less like a title defense than like a prove that you actually deserve that hardware kind of fight. And I don't know, even if she beats Jillian Robinson, do you think people will come away from it and being like, now we all gotta throw that respect on Mackenzie Durn's neck? Because won't everybody just be sitting around being like, is Wiley Zhang going to come back and beat her ass or not?
Yeah, and I don't think it's the first thing. I don't think that'll be happening. Well, and here's a question though: is this a commentary on Mackenzie Durn? Obviously, it sort of is, but is it also a commentary on the general state of women's MMA right now? I know that you recently wrote kind of about the dearth of women's MMA in the UFC over on the Uncrowned, and once you started laying out the statistics, it was sort of arresting to me to realize, like, oh yeah, we're doing the bare minimum at this point to even put these fights on anymore.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is that it just seems like right now we're in this lull, and it doesn't feel like there's a ton of excitement about Mackenzie Durn as the first women's title fight of the year. And it doesn't seem like you have a whole bunch of people being like, all right, now business is about to pick up. It kind of seems like she's also there, you know?
Yeah. And again, maybe just a commentary on the entire women's MMA landscape at this point, which unfortunately kind of feels like it has been left behind, perhaps consciously by the promotion. Like, we're definitely not doing a lot to make sure that we have healthy and interesting divisions. It's kind of a weird deal.
What about the rest of this fight? Are you seeing anything jumping out at you that you're excited about?
Nope.
Not a single thing, huh?
Oh, I don't know. Aside from that, it's a little bit anonymous, right? You got Edson Barboza out here saying this might be his last one.
Probably should be.
Yeah. Jalen Turner. Always like to watch that guy fight. The tarantula, loves spiders.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Feels a little bit like a throwback. You start reading some of these names that you see.
It really does.
You got Edson Barboza, Jalen Turner, Chidi Ninja Kawani, Vicente Luque, Neil Magny out here. I mean, it does seem like, oh yeah, I've heard of this guy, but also can't remember hearing too much great stuff recently,
And then, of course, everybody's favorite Superman villain, Mick to pick oral by. He's going to show up in New York and steal all the vowels out of everyone's alphabets.
He got them kryptonite gloves this time. He can't be stopped. He's got to figure it out.
You know who they got playing Zuckerberg this time is Jeremy Strong from Succession.
Oh, see, that's how you know they're about to do a hit piece on your ass, is if they hire Jeremy Strong. They do not intend for you to look like a hero, bro.
Yeah, I saw a preview of this when I was in the theater, and I mean, you can just see it in your mind what Jeremy Strong will do with this role.
Yep.
Going to make everybody on the set hate him with his method acting situation. All right, that's going to do it for the co-main event podcast this week. Thanks for listening, everybody. We will be over on the Patreon page all week. Check us out over there, patreon.com/co-main event. We'd love to have you. We always have fun. If you do that, we'll see you on Wednesday for the live chat. If you don't, we'll see you right back here next week. Thanks for listening, everybody. We appreciate the support. As for right now, we are done. We are through. We are out. What do you think the chances are that Islam Makhachev could go up to 185 and throw Sean Strickland on his head?
Decent.
Pretty good, right?
Dece. I describe his chances as firmly dece up there against Sean Strickland.
So I don't know if that is a sad commentary or just a real feather in the cap.
I think he's got a better chance of beating Sean Strickland than Sly Stallone's old ass Tulsa King character would have of actually being able to punch him and not have his hand explode into dust because he's ancient.
See, that is why the Tulsa King needs a young gun at his side to be his bodyguard, and it could be a guy that they imported from Ireland because he was too tough to stay.
He imported him from Ireland, and this kid has some crazy ideas about feminism that Sly has to try to talk him out of.